let me just, I just like to wait a little bit. Just now you are live, but I just like to wait a second, just because there's a delay between YouTube and the live. So I like to have this to hear. They come back to say everything is fine. So just give just a minute.
Okay.
We are live now. Yes. Yes. Now yes. Everything is okay. The feedback in YouTube is nice. So you are going to start. Hey guys, hey everyone, all the follow of the channel or possible listener in the future. Today I have a very nice guest, Nicola Luigi Bragazzi. He had already been before here. He had a very nice talk, a very nice discussion about LGBTQ plus. I always make a mistake on his name. Today we are going to talk about a very nice topic. We are friends on Facebook, and I saw that he was very interested about ChatGPT. I'm also interested. I have, in the last part of my book, I have a discussion about the ChatGPT. But since he's a medical doctor, I thought, well, that'd be very nice to have a medical doctor actually talking about ChatGPT, because I mean, it's sometimes nice for us to make sure that we keep everything under control, that the expectation not very high, but as well you make sure that you give the value to the tool. So, Nicola, maybe you can talk a little bit about you, make introduction. Would you like?
Yeah, sure. I am a medical doctor. I studied 6 years of general medicine. Then I got a PhD in biophysics and bioinformatics. And after my PhD, I got a medical specialization in public health, epidemiology, and biostatistics. I got my PhD in Germany, my specialization in Italy, and then I moved to Canada, where I have stayed 4 years working on, as you know, mathematical modeling of diseases. And now I just came back to Italy again, and I'm currently working. Sometimes life is quite funny in a field similar to yours, human nutrition. In particular, I am studying, I'm working on metabolomics and how to model, the nutrients that we eat, we ingest every day, their effects on human health, and stuff like this. And yeah.
Sorry, go on if you want. I just wanted to add something.
I'm very passionate about the relationship between computer systems, computational model, and medicine. And in the last period, we have seen some very sophisticated tools like the tools of generative conversational AI. And I have prepared some slides that I can present if you want. Okay. I don't know if you can see my slides.
Yes, I can see your slide, but just give me a couple of minutes, because I'd like to prepare a very short slide just to introduce the, because most of the people, I think they're not aware. But you feel comfortable to stop me, because it's like supposed to be at least, let's make like a talk if it's possible. I'm going to present. Can you see my slides?
Yes, I can see, yes.
So the question that I asked Nicholas was about, could ChatGPT play a medical doctor? It was a kind of a joke that I did to him, that I thought it would be very interesting to have him as a medical doctor to actually talk about that, because when you get very enthusiastic about the tool, sometimes you forget that you may have some limitation, but the limitation is not bad. The limitation is a process. I mean, you see the limitation, you improve the future. So in simple terms, ChatGPT is a language model. What's a language model? It's a model that's created for language. There are several types of models. You have image segmentation, you have a regression model, but ChatGPT is a language model. It's a model created to model human language. Even though it may sound like real, it may sound like it's magic. Behind the scenes, it's not very. I mean, it's not very complicated. It's a very advanced model, but it's not like magic. It's like so it's great to replicate human language. It's powered by deep learning. Deep learning was a revolutionary technique in artificial neural network. In the biggest magic is that it's a huge data set, like a human, like most of the human knowledge was put inside GPT. So even though it's a generic purpose, it's a generic purpose. One difference between ChatGPT, that ChatGPT is a very generic. As if you talk to it, if you ask me a question, it's a generic purpose model. It's a revolutionary model compared to the previous one. So it's a very advanced model. However, it does not store. The first time I saw ChatGPT, I thought they are storing the data set. They are storing the knowledge, but they are not storing the knowledge. They are the model was able to learn the pattern, which means that you can adapt the model for bioinformatics, for medicine, and so on. That's one of the reasons why I think the library that's a very important question. So essentially, loosely speaking, the brain is a biological machine. It stores information. The brain does not store all the information. If I ask you to make an essay, we're not going to have all the information stored in your brain. You're going to have the information, the pattern of the information, not the information itself. There's a reason why you need books, you need computers, you need Google, because they store information. You just store pattern. So if you go to ChatGPT, it's like if you ask like ChatGPT, please write to me about Albert Einstein, it's going to give you a probability. Like when I have Einstein and German and the same. So it's all about probability. It's the probability of two words going together. So I think that it can be very powerful. And today we may discuss together with Nicholas this part here, how the model can be used to be innovative and about innovating, which is a topic that I have been working on, which is called innovative biomathematics. So maybe later he can explain for us this puzzle, but I'll leave up to him to so you have the floor.
Yes.
You have.
But before I
I'm here for you. I'll be a little bit. I'll be a little bit out, but I'm here if you are. Just here, okay? Anything you need, I'm here.
Okay, sure. Before I introduce my slides, I would like to comment a little bit about the last slide that you showed. Can you show again?
Yes, I can. The last one.
The last one, yes.
Let me add. This one?
Yes. Okay. This question seems to be quite trivial, and maybe most of people can think it's a stupid question because everybody thinks to know the answer. They can also think the answer is very easy. So there are two kinds of answers. One, which is probably the most immediate answer that everybody could give to this question. And another one, which is the correct one, which I believe would require some thinking. And I don't think everybody should be able to give this reply. But if you want to try to answer this question, you should know that this question is less trivial and stupid that it may sound. It may look at first sight. The correct answer is not what you could expect to be.
Yes, that was when you asked me. I replied in a very different like human-like pattern. But you told me the answer was the answer is even better than mine because
Yes.
that's the reason I think that this kind of bot can be very useful to help the medical doctor because you don't have to be like proud. I'm very proud. I mean, pride can be very bad. You can use this machine to help you think because the machine gave me an answer that I could not think. But then I was able to recognize that the answer was better than mine. So you can use this machine like a calculator, like as you maybe I will leave in the description of the video the answer that you sent me, so people can see the true answer. But I do advise that you think before you see the answer, try to answer yourself. Then you're going to see that the computer can be smarter than you, but that doesn't mean that you have to be afraid of the computer. Just like it can give you a kind of creative answer that you can improve upon that.
Okay. So now we can move
Go to the
forward.
slides.
Yeah, and go to my
Yes.
slides. Thanks a lot.
I will indirect yours.
Okay, these are things. Okay,
Yes.
so I will talk about generative conversational AI in terms of hopes, but also dangers that generative conversational AI can have for clinical practice in the field of biomedical research. And we have three components: AI, conversational, and generative. And I will try to explain each one of these components. So basically, when you think of a computational conversational tool, you may think, for example, on a chatbot. But there is a difference between a chatbot and an AI-powered conversational tool. That, for example, in the case of a script-based chatbot, there is a lot of manual work behind, and there are manually predefined rules. Whereas in the case of conversational AI, it requires very little or even no manual work at all. And the script-based chatbot relies on keywords. So basically, when you input some text, for example, let's suppose that you have issued an order on Amazon, and you are waiting for the parcel, and you have an issue with the delivery, and you use the automated chatbot of Amazon. You input a keyword, and the chatbot gives a reply based on the keyword. But conversational AI relies on a large amount of data and text, and not only just a few keywords. Another difference is that a chatbot is not able to recognize and distinguish between misspellings or synonyms, whereas a conversational AI has what is known as contextual awareness. For example, something that you can ask to a conversational AI assistant is to paraphrase a text. And you can ask ChatGPT to make the paraphrases to paraphrase the text. It is very good at paraphrasing. Another difference is that a chatbot is not a learning curve. It doesn't learn at all, and it doesn't improve automatically. Whereas a conversational AI can learn and improve throughout the time because it is based on a reinforcement algorithm. So it can learn from the mistakes, and the next time it will generate a reply, the reply will be free from mistakes. We have an example of the difference between a chatbot and AI enhanced tool. as you can see, let's say the understanding capacity of a chatbot is very limited. Also, it cannot understand sometimes, it doesn't give the reply that you expect it to give, whereas an AI tool is quite sophisticated and can reply in a way that it mimics a human conversation, just like the conversation we are having now, or even better than a human conversation. Okay,
So let's
so yes,
let me maybe summarize a little bit because I
yeah,
have an audience. I have been doing some kind of live about the learning machine. So it's important to keep in mind that the biggest difference between what he said, the chatbot and the conventional AI, is that the chatbot you do not have the ability to adapt to the situation. So if you have, for
yes,
example, a situation that is, I have been seeing that a lot happen with this kind of company that they use in Brazil. They are using chatbot a lot. So most of the company, they are chatbot, script-based chatbot. They are unable to adapt. So sometimes you are like impatient, they ask the chatbot, please give me someone. In the case of the ChatGPT, it's able to adapt. So it's a learning machine. It's like a human. It's able to respond to the kind of situation. So the big difference, as according to Nicholas here, I totally agree, is that one is unable to adapt, is unable to learn new things. The second one is able to rephrase or even to create sometimes new conversation that wasn't programmed, that wasn't added to the chat, right? You agree with me?
yes, I agree.
So
So we can move on the next slide. So, generative conversational AI tool can do a lot of things. Can, for example, from basic functions like chat support, but also great conversation, which the chatbot was not able to provide, can give feedback, can provide help and support to the user, can interact, can even make surveys, can suggest, can schedule appointments, so can do a lot of things. I just purposely kept some tasks that I will discuss in the next slides. An AI tool can even simulate a medical physician, but we will specifically talk about this in the next slide. So, as you can see, the capacity, the skills, and the tasks that can be accomplished by an AI enhanced assistant are various and also sometimes even difficult also for a human being.
So it's interesting to I don't know if you read that, but I saw a research that they try to give a psychologist using ChatGPT, then they compare the result, how satisfied was the person. They found that most of the people was happier using ChatGPT as psychologist than a true psychologist. So I thought to myself, it could be a very not replace psychologists, but could be a way to improve the work because sometimes the person need a very fast reply. The psychologist is not always available. So the ChatGPT could make the fast work. Someone is very stressed, very sad, they can talk to a ChatGPT as one example. Then later they could make appointment with the true psychologist. I think that could be a very nice application in the future. I don't know your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. There is also a debate in the field of psychology, psychotherapy, about AI tools as providing psychological support. By the way, during the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of automated AI tools have been developed and designed to provide support to people during the pandemic. So this is just an example of what an AI tool can do. We can go on. Okay, basically, we see that there has been an explosion in the last decades of tools that have higher and higher computational power. So we start from basic models like perceptron neural networks, and we have what are known as the large language models. We have BERT, we have fine-tuned models that are always increasingly more and more sophisticated. So the
So
last,
what's in,
yeah.
in why? Why? Why is training computer is the I think the how is expensive to train the model. The in the X is what? X is hard to see. Uh,
So why? Well, because the algorithms and also the computational power have made great developments in the last decades. So the training costs have significantly reduced, and now
yeah,
we are able to train very large models that
yes, but
can.
I think my question is because in the y-x in the vertical, it's like you know what's written, but in the x in the horizontal, it's hard to see what's on the horizontal. You are compared to think, I see, but what's the second one you are comparing? Yes, if you
Ah,
see the X, if you see the X, you have a trained computer time, which is how expensive and how long take to train the model. But in the X in the
yeah, I
horizontal,
understand. I got it. In the X, just you have the time. So the
the
time
time.
goes to 1950 to 2020.
Yes, yes, like the time, like in the year, like the
Yes, the
history, the
timeline,
history.
yes.
Yeah, now it makes sense. What about ChatGPT? It's not. I think you need to update because AlphaGo is a little bit old, relatively older. It's not that old, but AlphaGo was as well a very important model uh, for bioinformatics.
Uh, yes, Chat GPT was launched
I think
in November
yes,
2022.
I think it was 2019. It was a one
2018,
or
yes,
two.
the first version, yes.
Yes, the first public version. I think it was 2 years ago they started. Then they were able to release the first version that was like a bloom, like a very important moment for artificial intelligence. It was about 2 years ago. Yes.
Okay, so basically, chat generative pre-trained transformer is a natural language processing model that can generate conversation-style responses to a user input. And it's just the last among a class of large language models. Basically, now we will not go into details, but I will try to simplify the topic. There is a mathematical structure behind a language. So, for example, a language, of course, consists of rules that we learn automatically when we were born, when we were children, and we implement these rules. Basically, if somebody stops me now, in principle, she can guess what I'm going to say. In a few words, very simply, the power of a language is that I can create um, a sentence that has never been created before, and so there is a creativity, there is a creative power of language. First point. And second point, despite Jorge has never heard a sentence before, he can understand what I'm saying. So there is a generative creative power of language. It has a sort of a mathematical structure that has been studied by linguists like Noam Chomsky in the US, the so-called generational grammar, and so on.
So
Rely.
it's like let me just add one point here. You said something about creativity because when you create something that never done before, it's a kind of creative. So in the end of my book, I did a kind of an interview with ChatGPT. So I asked ChatGPT, "Are you creative?" It said no. But according to my opinion, it's creative because, in my opinion, the definition of creativity is when you create something new, like he have never seen before, even if it's not like very big creativity work, it's still for me it's creative. So I think the definition of creativity has to change. The same way that intelligence, we change the definition of intelligence according to artificial neural networks. So today you say that there are human intelligence, there are nature intelligence, now we have robot intelligence. So I think the concept of creativity must change. Once it's changed, you can use ChatGPT as a creative machine. I think it's a creative machine as I see it, but
Yeah,
it's not
I
considered
agree.
itself as creative. I think it's been conservative. But I asked him, "Are you creative?" So I gave him a definition. That's my definition of creativity. So do you define yourself as a creative machine? It still said no, but I think it's like being conservative. But for me, it's a creative machine as I see it.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so there is a family of languages like GPT-3, GPT 3.5, GPT-4 that is going to be released very soon. They use
Just one curiosity for us. If you are from coding, you can use GPT-3. It's available. It's open. GPT-3 3.5. It's behind ChatGPT, but it's not available. But in the future, they said that it will be available. But if you want to use, Nicola told me a very nice thing. I didn't know. You have ChatSonic. ChatSonic is available. So if you I want to use like ChatGPT, it's not available, but can you use ChatSonic? It was a suggestion that Nicola told me. I didn't know about that, but it's a very good suggestion.
yeah. So basically, it's a combination of supervised learning and reinforcement learning that enables ChatGPT to react to our input. Okay, but now let's go. I don't know if I. Yes. Now let's talk about ChatGPT as a medical doctor. This is a great question if ChatGPT can replace a medical doctor. So, what researchers have done? They have, let's say, asked ChatGPT to reply to a series of medical questions on a broad range of topics. And they have found that ChatGPT has the knowledge of a third year medical student. So, suppose you have a medical student attending his third year, ChatGPT has the knowledge of a medical student attending the third year of a medical school, which I believe is quite impressive, and also can be anticipated that with the next coming versions of ChatGPT, it would not be surprising that the knowledge of ChatGPT will be even higher than a medical student or a medical specialist.
So let me just
Yeah.
because this article showed us a very interesting article. I love it. I mean, I didn't read the article at all, but I mean, I just saw some part of the article. But let me use the fact that you are a medical doctor, so you did like all the formal requirements, so you know how is to study for medicine. So, in your opinion, do you believe that ChatGPT may start a revolution on the education in the sense that you need to revise what you teach and how you teach, or do you believe that can be a very overestimated prediction? Do you believe that, I don't know if I was clear on my question, but my question is, since ChatGPT is able to do so well on medical doctor examination, so does that mean that you need to think what you teach, or do you believe that it's not going to change anything at all on the teaching of medicine?
I understand. I understand the question as um, yes, I think that ChatGPT it can also be an opportunity to reflect and to think of what medical education is, at least currently, because but medical education relies on a very high amount of knowledge that you have to study to learn by heart, and maybe what some scholars seem to suggest is that all these knowledge can be, let's say, partially delegated to ChatGPT, while the medical doctor can focus more on the human relationship with the patient. But I think maybe this not in the next years, but in the future.
Yes, but just the fact that you have this possibility. For example, I was reading one time, I was reading an article on Nature. It was a very old article. And in the past, a PhD student was a human calculator. So they hired a PhD to make calculation. So it was even the paper that who did the calculation was PhD student. Today it's not normal anymore. So maybe when the calculator was created, computer, it changed a lot what we were teaching on a PhD. So it's quite possible, as you said, I agree totally, that in the future, I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's possible that in the future we have to rethink what to write, not just for medical doctor, it's also for engineering, for mathematics. I saw that they can even prove theorem. I saw some artificial intelligence, which are not
Yeah,
artificial
yeah.
intelligence, they have to prove theorem. So a mathematician does not have anymore to do all this kind of body calculation. They can use artificial intelligence to help him to go faster. That could be very interesting in the future.
Absolutely, yes. Okay, if we go to the next slide. Okay, this slide is very funny. It's an example of a conversation that I had to with ChatGPT. Instead, instead of asking ChatGPT a question about medicine, I pretended to be a 60-year-old man complaining of a chest pain and having difficulties in breathing. And I asked ChatGPT what I should do if I were experiencing these symptoms. So this is my input with ChatGPT. We can read the reply of ChatGPT. If you are experiencing chest pain and difficulty breathing, it is important to seek medical attention immediately, especially given your age. These symptoms could be indicative of a serious medical condition, such as a heart attack or pulmonary embolism. Here are some steps you can take. First, call your local emergency service or go to the nearest emergency room immediately. Do not attempt to drive yourself. 2. Provide a complete and accurate description of your symptoms to the medical personnel. Tell them about your age, medical history, and any medications you may be taking. 3. Follow the instructions provided by the medical personnel. They may ask you to perform certain actions or provide certain information. 4. Try to remain calm and avoid exerting yourself while waiting for medical assistance. And I don't know what to think, but I
Sounds
think
great
that
to me. Sounds great because first it starts to tell you that he's not a medical doctor. So it was a he or it, I don't know, I don't know, but it starts saying that's not a medical doctor. So for me, that's a very important disclaimer. Like I'm not a medical doctor, but I'm going to give you a couple of advice. I found the advice very nice, conservative. It didn't give a kind of diagnosis. It didn't tell you your disease. I think it's nice. What do you think? Do you think it's as an engineering? For me, that's very nice. As a medical doctor, what are your thoughts?
No, I think it's impressive because the first point is that the suspected diagnosis of ChatGPT is right. This person that is 60 years old that complains of chest pain, difficulties in breathing, may have a heart issue or a pulmonary embolism. So the diagnosis that ChatGPT suggests is correct. And it's correct that the issue is serious, especially given the age of the person. So the diagnosis is correct. The
I don't know if you.
advice,
Sorry,
yeah,
go on. Sorry, go on.
the advice that ChatGPT provides is correct because it recommends to seek immediate medical assistance given that the issue is serious, and it gives a list of suggestions that are absolutely useful and correct. So I think that is extremely accurate and reliable.
Yeah, just one thing that I should keep in mind that I have an article that I wrote on my postdoc 2 years ago. I studied startup in healthcare. So it's not new that you have artificial intelligence being used for make diagnosis. What is new on this sprint should celebrate is how friendly and how human-like it's given diagnosis. Even like in the case of Nicola, he's a medical doctor. He said diagnosis is probably right. So that's amazing. I think it's not the first time that you see this kind of artificial intelligence, but the first time that you get so close from a real diagnosis. So I think that's what you should celebrate.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. In the next slide, I will talk about some, let's say, controversial aspect of ChatGPT. Okay, we have seen that ChatGPT is highly knowledgeable. He has the knowledge of a third-year medical student. He would qualify and pass medical examination license if it were human, and can properly diagnose and provide suggestions to a patient. But which are the ethical issues that we may have about in terms of concerns of ChatGPT? For example, let's think about education. It could promote cheating because how can somebody discover that, for example, the student, instead of solving a problem by himself, as he used this tool to cheat? So cheating
But
in
it's like it's interesting what you said because I saw a discussion recently about the ChatGPT being used as co-author of a paper. Some people are using ChatGPT, but they declare like ChatGPT is a co-author of the article. But they decide to prohibit it. It's prohibited now to use ChatGPT. But I think, as you said, it's a very ethical issue in cheating in education. But I have the feeling that you start to talk about it and you start to get agreement. It can be even a good. I mean, if you stay like, I don't want that, I want to hide that, I don't want to talk about it, that could be a very high chance that people start to cheat and people start to be unethical. What I thought, we believe that there is a way that you could avoid that. That's a very eminent problem. But do you feel that you have a way to maybe to avoid it, maybe to mitigate? What are your thoughts on the possible ways to avoid it?
Okay, I'm very happy to reply to this question, and the reply may sound funny. Okay, in principle, if somebody, it's like, when somebody creates a picture using Photoshop or other kind of tools, there is, let's say, a kind of fingerprint or watermark that a tool can detect and say this picture is real or is a fake. So we can use some tools that have been created. One is GPT Detect. GPT detect is a detector of texts that are written by GPT.
So you have so nowadays you already have. I didn't know about that, but so you have a way to detect that it was created by GPT.
I'm sorry?
I don't know about that. So you said that you nowadays you have a way to detect whether someone created using ChatGPT. So is that right?
That's right, yes. You can use
I don't know about that.
GPT detect to try to understand if a text is likely to be written by a human or be written by a computer.
Fisher
Um,
intelligence.
yeah. So, in principle, there are some tools that can be used to distinguish between human and computer written text. So we have also the issue of plagiarism in biomedical research and authorship. This is quite complicated, not because can ChatGPT be an author of a paper? I believe the question is similar to can a medical writer be an author of a paper? A medical writer is somebody who has good writing skills that is hired generally by pharmaceutical companies to write papers. And of course,
I think that's called ghostwriting, right? Ghostwriting. Yeah. I think
ghostwrite,
I read
yes.
I read somewhere that in medical doctor research, in biomedical research, it's very common to use ghostwriting, which is considered unethical to use it. You pay someone to write the article, even though the person does not gain the credit for the article. I read somewhere about that.
Yes, but some journals at least require that you disclose this paper was written by a medical writer. So you have to disclose that you used a medical writer. You have to disclose it. And maybe in the future, an editor can ask an author to disclose if they used ChatGPT for assistance. I expect this to be a good research and publishing ethical guideline in the future. Okay, before moving to another issue, there are some cases in which ChatGPT may give a wrong answer. For example, I asked the ChatGPT to answer this question. Is there a drug available effective for hemorrhagic fever? Hemorrhagic fever is a highly deadly disease for which there is no drug available. And in some cases, ChatGPT said that some drugs can be used to treat this disease, but this is false. There are no drugs effective. So in some cases, the answer in some rare, I have to say rare cases, the answer provided by ChatGPT was inaccurate.
So let me just use this very nice point you raised, because in the artificial intelligence we have a very big fight between a automatic car that drives itself, like using artificial intelligence. Because whenever artificial intelligence drive in a car and make just one accident, that become a news. But humans kill each other every day on the traffic. But when you create an automatic car and you have an accident, everyone like, it's not like wrong. So in a thought, do you believe that because medical doctor also makes mistakes, so it's not new that medical doctor can make a misdiagnose, can make like a wrong diagnose. But do you feel, or do you have any research, do you know any kind of discussion that can make compare? Because I saw by psychology, they compare psychologists with ChatGPT. The result was good. But do you know some result that trying to compare the rate of mistake of ChatGPT versus the rate of mistake of a medical doctor? Or do you feel that you need this kind of research to compare, statistically speaking?
Hmm.
I
No,
don't know. I don't know if I was.
that's a very good question. From what I read, from the articles that I read, I read that ChatGPT is quite knowledgeable in different fields of knowledge, but I did not see any comparison, let's say, between an expert, a human expert, and between AI tool. Maybe is something that should be explored by research.
Yeah, it's important to explore use statistical method like
Yeah,
p-value to show that it's not fake, it's not like ghost. Sometimes you will get very happy with a technology, and you can sometimes overstep, like trying to conclude very fast. So I think the technology is very important, but you should always be careful not to use it before it's time. You trying to use it in an unethical way or in a very fast way. You may even create problem in the future. People can start to hate the technology because of that.
yeah. So the last concern is okay, and if ChatGPT would provide a wrong advice, who should be liable and accountable for this mistake?
Yeah, that's a
And,
very good question. On this channel here, you have a question that Professor Maggio asked me the same question. I was talking about innovating biomathematics. Then Professor Maggio was the chair of my talk. He was to the University of L'Aquila. And he asked the same question. Professor Maggio is a medical doctor. He was the chair of my PhD defense. He's a friend of mine. He asked the same question. When a model make a mistake, who is going to be responsible? I mean, in your opinion, Nicola, in your opinion, can you maybe say some thought about that?
yeah, I believe that a medical doctor should always verify and fact check um, the reply provided by ChatGPT. And I believe that in the last instance, it's the human who should be responsible for taking the responsibility of accepting the reply given by ChatGPT.
Yes, but let me just give you a parallel because today
Yeah.
you have a big fight between artificial intelligence and democracy. So people say that the company like Twitter, Facebook, they should be reliable because they spread fake news. But do you see that in the future, ChatGPT, if it's badly used, it can become a problem? Because suppose that in the future people start to ChatGPT, then ChatGPT is not reliable because it's a machine. So people start to use it to get diagnosed, then decide to give misdiagnose. Do you believe that could be a problem in the future if you do not make sure that you protect people against the possible mistake of the machine? I
Yeah,
don't
I
know if I
agree.
was clear.
I agree.
Yes, okay.
But I think we should also elaborate further on the concept of responsibility. But I'm not
Yes.
a medical legal expert, so I
Yes, yes.
just a
Yes,
bit.
it just was just a question because
Yeah.
today we have a big fight between fake news and how to make the text, the five tech, the big tech to be responsible for endanger all the democracy all of the world because of the fake news, manipulation, and so on.
Okay. So we want to go back to the last slide of your slides.
You get the challenge, the riddle
Yes.
that you created,
Yes.
right? Let me, I
Yes.
remove you and add
Yes.
myself. This one.
Okay. So I think that we now can give the reply to this question. Okay. So basically, what a human would reply is, if I have a twin, and if I was born on March the 2nd, my twin was born on my same day, it is to say March the 2nd. So the reply is March the 2nd. But the real correct answer is another one. The correct answer is that, yeah, the second. The correct answer is that twins may be delivered with a difference of a few minutes. So, depending on the hour of the day, the twin could be delivered the day before or the day after. And the correct reply, also given by ChatGPT, is that the twin is a high probability of being born on the same day, but he has a small probability of being born the previous or the after day.
So it has probably to be on the 1st of March or on the 3rd of March, right?
Yes, exactly.
So you may have some kind of, I don't know. Here I'm just making a kind of guess. You may have like this a probability that is very high on the first, but something like a normal probability
Yes,
that it's
yes,
most
yes,
likely to be born the same day, but you have a probability that you may be born. That was the answer of ChatGPT, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, there is a documentary called "The Age of Artificial Intelligence" that they show that when deep learning was test against the Chinese game called Go, the biggest player, the best player, was surprised because the artificial intelligence deep learning was able to show him a move that he never thought before. So that's the same. I never saw that before. That was amazing. Yes, makes sense.
Mhm.
Okay, so do you have more slides?
No, that was my last slide.
So let me just give you two thoughts that I gave that if you
Okay.
have some comment you can do. So even though ChatGPT can make medical suggestion, it should not replace medical doctor. As I see it, it will increase their creativity, their focus on the patient, and less on the know-it-all, like he remember by heart, as you said before. Do you agree? Disagree? Do you have any thought on that?
I agree, I agree. I think that the ChatGPT could could change the relationship between a medical doctor and a patient. Could change the way that a doctor practices, but also the relationship between a medical doctor and a patient.
Okay, that's the last one. So yes, ChatGPT is pretty smart. As I see it as smart. Some people complain, but for me, it's a very smart artificial intelligence. However, all the endeavor you have to automate mathematical scripture. In this channel, we have several live. You have one live by Jonathan Carr, one live by Judy, one live by Alexei Kolondzky. All of them, this kind of mathematical script that you saw here, in my opinion, it will not disappear. We still need this mathematical description. ChatGPT is a conventional artificial intelligence. It's not going to replace this model. So as I see it, ChatGPT is helping could help mathematical biologists to create model easier. So maybe in the future, you could even ask ChatGPT or any kind of variation to make mathematical models. It will make innovative mathematics, such as if you make a model, then you want the doctor to use the model, maybe ChatGPT could be able to incorporate the model. So once you accept a human-like property, like it can do today, you can easily transform into model parameterization. I did a survey on my talk. The medical doctor said that the parameterization is the hardest for them. I did a kind of survey as what's the most difficult part for you? They said model parameterization. So even model for human command. So imagine it could parameterize the model, just talk to the model. So it already make code. So if ChatGPT can make code, it's not that hard, as I see it, to make mathematical models. I don't know if you understood my point, but you haven't thought on that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with your conclusions and your thoughts about ChatGPT. Yes,
Okay.
I,
Uh,
I don't know in the field of biomathematics, but I believe that in the field of medicine, it is expected to change a lot of things.
because my point is that if you ask ChatGPT to make a code, I test it. It makes code that's very advanced. I asked ChatGPT to create a tic-tac-toe. It took me like 1 week to create a tic-tac-toe. The ChatGPT was able to create in less than a minute. So if you can create very advanced code, it will be able to create very advanced mathematical model in the future, as I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys. So I'd like to thank Nicola to be here. If you have any question, you have a less opportunity. Otherwise, you can talk to us on Twitter. As you see, maybe in the future, you see the talk. Here is the Twitter of Nicholas. Here's my Twitter. Maybe if you want to leave his email in the description of the video, you just have to send me. I will be glad to leave his email there. So let me see if you have any. So yeah, no, you don't have a question now, but in the future, if you have, you can easily address. Let me just remove here. So remove. So sorry. So Nicola, so thanks a lot for being here today. It was a very nice talk. It was a very nice conversation. So if you have any closing thought, any closing line, you can say it now.
Thanks a lot for the invitation. It was a really, really pleasure to talk with you.
Okay, so see you in the future.
Yeah. Bye-bye.